in this webinar. And now I request Mr. Mukesh Jain to say a few words.
Good evening, friends, and I'm indeed very grateful to Pratima Madam for organizing these weekly meetings. And I welcome you all, and I would request our very senior and veteran Dr. G.P. Rao to give the opening remarks, please. Welcome address. Dr. G.P. Rao.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman, ISTD Delhi Chapter, Mr. Mukesh Jain. Thank you, Pratima ji, for this passionate mission of organizing these programs in the Golden Jubilee year. And we are very lucky today that we have got a wonderful speaker, a chartered accountant, turned an entrepreneur, turned a great speaker, inspiring missionary. Talking about something called lean management, which will be always relevant, always be useful. And any point of time, COVID or no COVID, all of us have to be lean in life in terms of our physique, in terms of our cost, in terms of our work. So lean is something, lean management means basically smart management. Great topic chosen, the right speaker and the right audience. So the audience who come to a meeting on time, these are the people, they are called, some people call them JIT, some people call them WIT. JIT is just in time, WIT is well in time. They are not those people who are called NIT, and never in time. No, these are the people who are MIT and JIT. Wonderful audience, right topic, right speaker. With that, I'll once again welcome the speaker on behalf of ISTD and all the audience, all the participants, and wish you a great session today. And Pratima ji will be shortly facilitating introduction of the speaker through another member, and also she will tell us the guidelines of having the session more effectively so that we'll take the best out of the session today. Thank you, Pratima ji, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. I would now request Sucharita Madam to introduce the speaker. Sucharita ma'am.
Thank you, Pratima. Hello. Good evening to all. It's a great privilege for me to introduce today's eminent speaker, Mr. Manoj Kumar. Mr. Manoj Kumar brings in global expertise on finance and general management. His career spans over 3 decades, during which he has worked for various multinational organizations. He has held C-suite positions, including that of Chief Executive Officer at the board level. Mr. Manoj Kumar is a global leader, having traveled and obtained work experience across several countries. He has successfully cross-pollinated good practices from one part of the world to another. He was instrumental in laying a strong internal control mechanism for organizations, which became a robust foundation for the companies on which to build and develop their operations. His operational strategic skills have enabled companies to achieve unprecedented growth in the industry. Mr. Manoj Kumar is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and has led various industry-changing issues at a strategic level. He has served as Chairman, CII Office Automation and Imaging Division, and has regularly interacted at various level forums such as FICCI and CII for subjects ranging from operational excellence, evolving market and competition scenarios. Talent development is an area of expertise for Mr. Manoj Kumar. An alumnus of Modern School, New Delhi, and graduate from Delhi University with an honors degree in commerce, Mr. Manoj was a merit list holder with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He acquired leadership development skills at Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. We welcome you, sir, and we are looking forward to your insightful session.
Okay, so Manoj, it's all yours.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Good evening, everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank ISTD for giving me this opportunity to talk at this platform this evening. It's indeed a privilege to be here. Now, the topic of today's talk is lean management. Now, I hope I am able to do justice to this topic in a short time span of 40 minutes that's been allotted to me, because normally this topic I cover in multiple sessions when I teach it. Yeah, but nonetheless, I will try and do full justice to it in this session today. Yeah. This session will actually be conducted in the form of a presentation. So I'm going to put up on the screen a presentation which will help you to understand the various facets of this topic as we go along. So I hope the file is visible to all on the screen. So when we speak about lean management, what comes to our mind instantly is cutting out the flab, and which is so very right. So we all have to stay lean, and which means that whatever is excess, which is not contributing to our health or to delivering value to what we are doing, should be eliminated from our system, because it's a waste. So elimination of waste, cutting out the flab, is actually what lean management is all about. It is basically a concept. It is a thinking. It is no rocket science. But having said that, let me also add here a word of caution that this is a concept which is easier said than practiced, because it requires a great amount of determination, a great amount of grit for us to practice lean management in a proper fashion. So let's start the session. Now, what is lean? So now there's this definition of lean that we have captured here, which says creating more value for customers with fewer resources and minimum wastage. So essentially, there are two principles in lean that we should always bear in mind. Lean management basically says that all the activities which you carry out should be focused towards creating more value and towards reducing wastage. So these are the two things that one should keep in mind. One very important facet of lean, which normally people associate it with, is cost reduction. But cost reduction by itself is not what lean is all about. Cost reduction is just basically an activity which is incidental to lean. If you practice lean properly, then cost reduction is a result that you end up achieving. And that's the reason we haven't captured it in the definition of lean. So we are going to be talking a lot about value, because as we see in the definition, lean management is all about creating more value for customers. Now, what exactly is value? So let me just explain this concept of value through a concept which we all relate ourselves very well to, and which is the concept of selling. Now, selling is just not confined to doing selling the way we traditionally understand a sales activity. Yeah? All of us are actually selling ourselves day in and day out, no matter what work we do. And selling basically is to showcase what we are good at doing, and basically convincing the other person who might find some value in what we do to actually avail that value from us. But coming back to the concept of selling now, the way we traditionally understand it. So what makes us good at selling? I'm going to just put up some pointers here on the screen for you. I'm sure you all will agree with it. First and foremost, we should have a passion for our product and services. So no two ways about it. Definitely, whatever we are selling, whether it's a product or a service, we should have a passion for it. Goes without saying, we should have good knowledge about the product and service that we are selling, because knowledge basically helps us to explain all about a product and service to our customers. Using effective sales techniques, and when we speak of effective sales techniques, the skills that come to our mind are influencing skills, which is very, very important, and also persuasive skills. So we should be able to influence the buyer's decision-making process to purchase our product or services. And we should be persuasive enough in order to convince the buyer. We should be a people's person, out and out a people's person. And in fact, we all know that we all gravitate towards people who are attractive, who speak well, and who we can relate very well to. So all things being the same, a person will always buy product and service from a salesperson who he finds very, very attractive to talk to, who he finds very, very appealing. So therefore, if one has to be successful in sales, then you have to be out and out a people's person. And yes, finally, being competitive on pricing, because no customer wants to spend extra money on buying whatever he wants to purchase. So therefore, as a salesperson, you have to be very, very competitive on pricing. Now, these are just 5 of the attributes that I have captured on the screen, which makes us good at selling. Now, this is conventionally the way we understand good selling will succeed, or these are basically the attributes which will make us a good salesperson. However, let's be in for a shock. No, it's a big no. We might have all these qualities. We might have passion for our products and services. We might have good knowledge about a product and service. That's given. If you are in sales, you ought to have knowledge about your product and service. You might be having good effective sales techniques. Might be a good people's person, and you might be competitive on pricing. All these attributes will take you only up to a certain extent, but may not necessarily help you to go all the way to close a sales. You will close a sales if and only if you are able to deliver value. That means the customer should be able to see value in your products and service before he makes a decision to purchase it. This is a general rule. There can be exceptions to this also. There could be instances where a customer might purchase something for considerations other than just the value of the product and service. But generally the rule is, as a customer, we all will purchase something in which we find value. And if there is a product which is available before us, or a service that's available before us, which we feel is fulfilling our value, is satisfying our value, we will purchase it no matter how bad the salesperson might be, no matter how high the price of that product might be, or no matter how ill-informed the person who's telling me about that product might be. But if we see value in that product, we will definitely purchase it. So, in fact, what we have stated here is something which is very obvious. It is always obvious to us, but somehow we always tend to forget it. And which is that as customers, we are looking at goods and services only as a means to solve our problem. We all have a problem. And we therefore look for those goods and those services which will help us solve the problem that we are facing. In that sense, goods and services might not be an end to achieving that objective. They might be value creating only and if only they are able to solve my problem. And over here, I'd like to give a very simple example. What comes to my mind is fax machines. Now, in the olden days, we all used to use fax machines. Nobody uses it anymore. But at the time when we used to use those machines, fax machines or pagers, I hope all of us are familiar with these products because these are obsolete now. But at the time when we used to use these products, these were very, very valuable to us because they were helping us to solve a problem that we were all facing at that time. But today we have found other ways of solving those problems of ours. So there are other products which are far superior to those obsolete products which are solving our problems. Therefore, we don't find value in those products anymore, and those have been dumped by the wayside. Today, even if somebody comes to our doorstep to sell us those obsolete products like a pager or a fax machine or a typewriter or whatever, we will not buy them at all because these products are not valuable to us any longer. And when we say value, there are 3 essential characteristics of value, which is the product should be worthy to us, should be important to us, and should be precious to us. The reason I'm emphasizing so much on value is because lean management is all about creating value. And before we discuss ways to create value, we must understand what value is. And I will at this stage bring in a mathematical formula to enable you to calculate value. Value is benefit divided by price. So I just repeat, value is benefit divided by price, which means there are 2 ways by which you can enhance value. One is that you reduce the denominator, which means you reduce the price. And the other one is you increase the numerator, which means you increase the benefit that the customer will derive from your product. Of course, let me just come to the first one first, a subject which is so close to our heart: reduce the price and do business and create value. But the only point is that reduction in price might enhance value only temporarily. And there's a limited bandwidth to which you can actually reduce prices because we all are in business to earn profits. We are not doing charity. And therefore, there is only a certain extent up to which we can reduce the price and get that order from the customer, which he might find valuable. But then even at a reduced price, if the customer doesn't find too much benefit in that product, then eventually over a period of time, that product will cease to be valuable to him. Therefore, a smart way to create value is not to reduce the denominator or the price, but to increase the numerator, which means you increase the benefit, you enhance the benefit. You make the customer see real value in the product that he's buying. And therefore, if by this mathematical formula, the benefit that the customer is getting surpasses the price that he's paying, there will always be a high value for the customer in that product or in that service. Now, with this background of value, let me just come to the topic of lean straight away. The concept of lean management was introduced in Toyota at the end of the Second World War, which was sometime in the 1940s. And at that time, soon after the war, the Japanese automobile companies were facing the challenge of how to produce different kind of cars with the limited manufacturing capacity that they had. So Toyota mastered this art of the setup and the turnaround time for the production assembly line to manufacture more cars. And that is how the concept of lean came into existence. And at that time, the lean thinking that originated was through alteration of the way supply chains and production systems are run. And that is an art that Toyota mastered. And subsequently, there are many other companies which have now mastered this art of altering the way their supply chains and production systems work. And the tenets of lean therefore become harnessing knowledge and creativity of individual workers, because as a worker, as a person in an organization, there are people, unless and until each and every person who's contributing to the lean process actually possesses good knowledge of how to run the lean management, you will not be able to achieve the desired results of lean thinking. Shrinking of batch sizes. This is something which Toyota learned very, very well. So in fact, I mean, just to put this in the right perspective. So if I'm used to manufacturing, let's say 100 cars in a day. So instead of manufacturing 100 cars of a particular model in a day, Toyota learned this art of manufacturing 10 cars of 10 different models in a day. So they actually reduced the batch size to be able to focus better on the batch that they were working on. JIT production and inventory control. So we all know what JIT stands for. It is just-in-time production and inventory control. So which means that you should not be having excess inventory. You should not be producing more than what the customer wants, so that you have inventory which you are holding unnecessarily. And also creating products which nobody wants. So you therefore end up creating waste which nobody wants at the end of the day. And to get rid of it, you basically run sales promotion schemes and offer discounts to the customers. Yeah, that's not a smart way of doing business. And acceleration of cycle times. How can you make your assets, your machineries, accelerate in terms of cycle times to be able to achieve higher production and optimize their usage? So this is basically a backdrop of how lean came into existence. Now, this brings us to a very, very important question. And that question is lean a concept that is applicable only to manufacturing? It started with Toyota, which was a manufacturing company. And there are many manufacturing companies thereafter which have mastered the art of lean management. And therefore, this question keeps coming back to our mind. Is lean only for manufacturing companies? And many a times when I interact with people, what they say is lean, but lean is for manufacturing companies only. The answer to that is no. Lean is meant for all of us. And before I proceed further, in order to explain this concept very, very simply to you, I would like you to just reflect on what has happened to each one of us in the last 4 months. So what has happened in the last 4 months is our lifestyles have undergone a rapid change. We are no longer leading our lives the way we used to lead them until about 4 months back. There was a lockdown that was imposed upon us, which incidentally still hasn't got over. In these last 4 months too, we can lead a good lifestyle even without spending money on eating out. We have realized that we can lead a good quality of life without having to purchase so many clothes that we earlier used to purchase. We used to buy on impulse. We used to go out, shop on impulse. We realized that by saving so much money on activities which really were not contributing so much to our well-being, we are still able to lead a good lifestyle. Yes, of course, there are times when we miss that little bit of fun quotient in our life, but it is not something which is so desperate that it actually makes us leave our homes and go out to seek that fun. On the other hand, we have learned other ways by which we can seek that fun. We are spending more quality time at home with our own family members. So we used to be strangers at home who would just come home to sleep in the night and again leave home in the morning to be busy in that rut all day long. But now what has happened is this forced lockdown has actually enabled us to spend more quality time with each other, with our family members. In the process, what has happened? We have discovered that our lifestyle can still remain very good. We can still feel happy in general, that is, yeah, if we just eliminate waste. So all the wasteful activities which earlier we used to find so very important to our very existence, now we have discovered that yes, we can even live without those wasteful activities. Yeah, there are other alternatives through which we can actually realize the same objective of getting some entertainment, some fun, some quality time, etc., but without doing those wasteful activities that earlier we used to spend so much on. So while our incomes may have come down, some of us or many of us may have got impacted because of that, but at the same time, there has been a tremendous amount of saving also by each one of us because we are not incurring those so-called wasteful expenses anymore. So this is one example of lean that we can all very well relate to. However, lean, the way we understand and the way we are going to be discussing in this session, is actually applicable to business. So I brought in this particular example to enable you to understand this concept of lean better. But now let's get back to the relevance of lean to our business. Yeah. So having said that, no, lean does not apply to manufacturing. This actually is a misconception which is now getting cleared. Lean applies in every business and in every process because please remember, lean is about waste elimination. And if we look around, we will find so much waste all over in every process, in every initiative that we undertake, that if we actually wear the hat of a lean thinker, we will always be able to see ways of identifying that waste and also of elimination of that waste. So this in essence is what lean actually teaches us. There are certain concepts of lean that I would like you to reflect upon. Lean management does not imply manpower rationalization. So you must have heard, I mean, it's a very common practice in the industry or in the corporate world. Companies are actually all the time rationalizing manpower. So they realize that, okay, I mean, why not make one person do two people's job? So therefore, why not get rid of one person? These activities may or may not necessarily be lean, in accordance with the lean management. Yeah. So not every activity of getting rid of manpower or cutting down on your operating expenses might be lean. Yeah. Lean is the specific purpose of eliminating waste. Lean is expected to bring about a change in the focus of the management from optimizing separate technologies, assets, and vertical departments to optimizing the flow of products and services through the entire value streams. Now, what does this mean? This means that if I have an entire vertical to look after, if I have an entire business to look after, if I have an entire department to run, then instead of looking at each and every segment of that department in a watertight compartment and trying to carry out those optimizations there, I should look at the complete picture to find out if before me on the drawing board, I have my entire business here before me, how can I make sure that I can practice lean? How can I identify waste on the chart that is there before me? And how can I therefore bring in rationalization? Yeah. And one example that keeps coming to my mind is there's this organization where I used to work. We had an in-house IT department. And in that in-house IT department, as with any other organization, there were many softwares that we were using, many hardwares that we were using. And our IT systems were not the best in the world. In fact, they were causing a lot of impediments to the initiative that our business was taking. But the approach that was at that time adopted was, let me look at this particular machine, what is the problem with it? Let me look at this particular server, what is the problem with it? Let me look at this particular software, what is the problem with it? But the problem was not with individual machines or individual servers or individual software. The problem was that the ERP that we were using was not really conducive to running our business properly. Now, that is just one very, very elementary example of lean. But the point that I'm trying to make is, if you really want to practice lean in whatever you're doing, you have to look at the complete picture and not just individual segments of it. Yes. Now this para is very, very important. If you are able to practice lean properly, if you are able to eliminate waste, which is lurking around in every nook and corner, the result of your efforts will almost always lead to reduction in human efforts, space, capital, and thereby you will save time to make products and services at far less cost and with much fewer defects. So as I mentioned before, cost reduction is not necessarily something that we should be thinking about when we practice lean management. It, it happens automatically if you are able to practice the tenets of lean management thoroughly. It is all about creating more value for customers. Please understand, please understand. Yeah, this is very important. You may actually save time and effort. You may make more quantity of the products that you are making. You will try and add some additional features to the product which you are making. But at a basic level, if that product is useless, it's obsolete, it is not something which a customer wants, yeah, then that product will not sell at all because it's not a value creating product for the customers. In this time of COVID-19, yeah, when we are actually trying to conserve our resources, if a fashion brand were to come and say that fine, I've created this particular garment which actually has this additional facilities, it's a lifestyle statement, it's actually a good fashion brand or something, nobody will even look at it now because it is not something which is adding any value to us. Our problems are different at this stage, and therefore what will create value at this stage is something which is going to be very, very different. So in fact, what businesses have now done is they have realized that some of the products they were making earlier are no longer relevant today. So they are trying to cut that waste. They are trying to clear their production assembly lines of the products that they were making earlier, and they are now making products which are more relevant to this COVID-19 times, which could be either face masks, sanitizers, whatever it is, because these are the products which are solving a problem which a consumer is facing today. Yeah. So which of our efforts are value creating and which of our efforts are waste? So from a lean perspective, the answer to this lies in understanding which of our efforts create value for the customer and which of the efforts do not create value for the customer. Now, let me give you a very small example. Supposing I have to fly from Delhi to Mumbai. What do? I leave my home. I travel in a taxi from my home to the airport. That takes me about 40 minutes. Then I go through the check-in process. I have to stand in the queue for checking in. It takes another about 45 minutes to an hour to do that. Then I have to send the line for security. Another about half an hour gone over there. Then I have to wait at the departure lounge to board my flight. Another about an hour or so gone there. Then I finally board my flight. And that flight takes 2 hours to take me from Delhi to Mumbai. I reach Mumbai. Then again, it's the same thing. I have to wait for my baggage to come. Another about half an hour gone for that. Yeah. Then I have to hail a taxi at the airport to reach my final destination. So from my point of origin to my point of destination, that is from my home in Delhi to my office in Mumbai, it took me about 6 hours. But out of this, the real value creating time was just 2 hours, which was the actual flying time between Delhi and Mumbai. Rest of the 4 hours were all spent on activities which to me as a consumer were not creating any value at all. Yeah, I wish there was a system by which there was a plane which was parked right outside my house. I could board it, I could fly in it, and it could land right in front of my destination in Mumbai. So that would be value. However, as I will explain to you later, not all waste can be eliminated. There are different types of waste, which I will just very, very briefly touch upon. Now, let's take a look at the fundamental preamble of lean. There are basically 3 aspects of this preamble that I'm going to touch upon: purpose, process, and people. Purpose, this we have stated earlier also, but to reiterate, what it says is, what customer problems will the enterprise solve to achieve its own purpose of prospering? This is right at the top. You must understand the purpose of your existence. Why is your business existing? Many businesses are folding up because they do not know what value is their customer looking for, and therefore in the process they end up creating those products which are non-value creating for the customer. Yeah, because they haven't really understood the concept of value right in the beginning. Once you have understood this concept of value, then you come to practicing lean. If I have to deliver this value to the customer, then how do I lay down a value stream or a process in my organization through which I am able to, with the utilization of minimum possible resources, able to create that product or that service which is going to deliver value to the customer. So this will be my second step. First step will be to find out what I should do in my business, which will create value to my customer. The second step is, how do I actually create that value to the customer? So what kind of process should I lay down in my organization? And the third one, of course, the most important one, this is last but not the least, the people. Because you might notice, and it's true, that the biggest challenge to practicing lean in any organization is the resistance by the people to the concept of lean, because they have their own personal insecurities, which often prevent them from practicing lean the way it's meant to be practiced. So here it's very, very important for us to understand that in our business, which are the people that we require to run the process in accordance with the lean tenets, and therefore how can they be made more responsible for continually evaluating the value streams in terms of business purpose and the lean process. So there has to be a constant monitoring of that entire value stream to make sure that the value is created at the right time, at the right place, for the right kind of customers. And that evaluation, that monitoring will have to be done through human resource. So people play a very, very important role in practicing lean management. So these are the three fundamental preambles of lean: purpose, purpose of business existence, process, lean process, and people to run that lean process. There is this lean management principles. The concept of it was actually laid down in 1996 by James Womack and Daniel Jones. Now, there are these 5 principles that I will very, very briefly touch upon over here. So we have to specify value from the standpoint of the end customer by product family. So which means we must be very clear about what is the value that the customer is looking for. Yeah. Then identify all the steps in the value stream for each product family. So which means, I mean, this is basically a reiteration, basically peeling the onion, getting into a little more details to basically understand what kind of lean system should we have practicing in our organization. So we must specify the value, we must identify all steps in the value stream. Having appreciated the value stream, having laid it down in our organization, how do we make it run smoothly? How do we make sure that the value stream is flowing efficiently? So that's the flow aspect of it. The pull aspect, I'm going to be spending just a little bit more time on each of these 5, just to explain these a little more clearly, but this is just an overview. On the pull side, this is exactly the opposite of push. When we say push, what we are saying is pushing our products and services down the throats of the unwilling customers, because we are carrying inventory of those. So we therefore, or we have probably produced an excess of the demand, and therefore we want to just push it down the throats of our customers. Pull is exactly the reverse of that. So what pull means, that you should be able, customer should be able to pull the value from your value stream. So which means you should be able to produce or manufacture only when the customer demands what you need to manufacture. So you have understood what you want to do in your business. You've laid down the value stream. You made sure that the value stream is running smoothly or is flowing well. And then you decide at what time you have to do what activity to enable the customer to pull value from that value stream. And finally, achieve perfection. Now, perfection comes in place only when steps 1 to 4 have been practiced. It is basically a PDCA approach, which is plan, do, check, and act approach. So this PDCA cycle will ensure that you attain perfection in practicing lean management. So this is basically the cycle. This is basically the cycle of lean principles. Identify value, map the value stream, create flow in that value stream, establish pull, which is pull of value by the customer from that value stream, and seek perfection in that value stream. Now, specification of value can only be defined by the customer. So this is, there are no two ways about it. As a producer, I cannot define customer's value. So customer has to define value. Customer has to tell what is the value that he's looking for, what are his pain points, what are his problem areas, which my products are going to solve. And if my products will solve those pain points, that becomes value to the customer. Identify value stream, that's a concept referring to all action that I need to understand. So as I said before in that example I gave of the IT system, that was a very, very simple example. That was basically to understand how my value stream is structured in my organization or in my division. And the third one is, how do I make that value stream flow properly? And of course, let the customer pull value from that system, and in the process, let me attain perfection in practicing lean in my organization. Yeah. But let me just add a word of caution here once again, that this looks very, very simple on this paper. But when it comes to practicing these 5 principles, it requires a lot of your determination. And you will soon realize you will not be able to achieve it in isolation. There has to be an entire ecosystem that has to support you in this. And that ecosystem will also include your external entities which are not a part of your business, like your vendors, like your suppliers, like your logistics partners. There are a whole lot of them who will play some role or the other in ensuring that your value stream is flowing properly. Now, so far when it comes to value specification, so as we said, this can only be defined by the customer. Yeah. And the customer, when it comes to value specification, customer wants to get his needs fulfilled with least amount of inconvenience and at a fair price. And one example of this which I can provide to you is the services that are maybe IT aggregators or e-commerce players have provided to the customers. Least amount of inconvenience at a fair price. Radio cab services. Now, these are the kind of things which were unheard of before. So look at the amount of effort that each one of us had to make earlier to arrive at our buying decisions and to execute our buying decisions. But our life has been made so much simpler by these kind of services which have come into existence in recent times, because of which as a customer we accept a lot of value from these actions. And value is created by the producer. So our part as a producer is not to basically specify value, but to understand value and create that value for the customer. So producer definition of value is to use our existing assets in the most optimum manner. Just look at the dichotomy here. Now there's this customer who wants a certain value, but as a producer, I might not always look at creating that value. So when it comes to production at my end, I will always look at my existing assets. How can I use my existing assets in the most optimum manner? How can I create products and services through efficient use of the existing technology that we have mastered? So I'm good at making something, let me keep making that something, without probably realizing that what I had been good at making has probably outlived its efficiency. So it's not required in the market any longer. Yeah. To produce mass products in bulk, to optimize cost of production, and thereafter push the products down the customer throat using discounts and other marketing promotional tools. Yeah, because for us, conventionally, the way we have all grown up thinking is that yes, it's always best to produce in bulk because that will reduce my cost of production. But we don't realize that also increases my cost of carrying that inventory and the subsequent cost that I have to incur to get rid of that inventory. Yeah. So as a producer, the objective of showing this slide was to understand in a non-lean management setup how there's always a disconnect between the value that the customer is seeking and the value that the producer in his own perception is providing to the customer. So there's a mismatch over there because producer is inwardly looking. He's looking at his existing resources and technology to produce what he feels the customer should want and not what the customer actually wants. Now, elements of value specification therefore involve that lean firms should rethink value. So lean firms should move away from the convention of inwardly looking at the existing technologies, assets, and resources to look at what exactly the customer wants. In the process, you might actually free up some of your existing resources which have been utilized in creating stuff which actually at the end of the day is waste. Now, I will bring in over here a concept of target cost. So conventionally, how do we do business? We understand there's a selling price for our product in the market. From that selling price, let me reduce my profit After reducing my profit, it comes to my cost of production. So therefore, my cost of production should not exceed X amount. Yeah, and that X amount has been worked backward. From the selling price, I've reduced my profit. But a lean organization will think very, very differently. The moment I have this figure in my mind that my product will sell for 120 rupees, 20 rupees should be my profit. So my cost of manufacture should be 100 rupees. Then willy-nilly, whether my cost of production is 100 rupees or less, I will actually end up spending 100 rupees only. Yeah. So there's a saying which says work stretches to fill the time available, and that way the cost also increases to meet the budget that I have. On the other hand, the way a lean thinker will think is, how can I optimize my production cost, my production system? So he will not work backward, but he will work forward, which means that if I have to produce this particular thing, then how can I produce it at the best possible cost by optimizing my resources efficiently? And then in the process, you might realize that against 100 rupees, you can actually create it for 80 rupees. Then that's a benefit you will get. Either you can reduce your prices by 20 rupees, or you can use those 20 rupees to add some further value to the product that you are creating for the customer, so that it becomes even further beneficial for the customer. So these are some of the benefits. You can reduce prices, you can add value enhancing features, you can add services, you can expand your distribution and service network. Yeah. So on the value stream, as we have said before, value stream actually encompasses the entire set of action. Yeah. Now over here, there are, when we actually analyze our value stream, we will realize waste existing everywhere. Waste are of two types. One is what we call the type 1 waste. Type 1 waste is something which is not adding value to my product creation, but is still something which I have to live with. I cannot do away with it. The second type of a waste is, which is what we call type 2 waste, which again doesn't create any value, but that is something I can eliminate immediately. Now, let me just go back to the example of catching a flight to travel from Delhi to Mumbai. What is type 1 waste is the security frisking which happens at the airport. That is not adding any value to my goal of reaching from Delhi to Mumbai, but it is necessary in view of the security. So that is what I would call a type 1 waste. Waste which cannot be eliminated. And in the same example, to make you understand this concept better, a type 2 waste would be printing of my boarding pass, yeah, which is non-value adding activity, and that can be eliminated. And that actually, that is a process which now has been done away at most airports. Yeah. So in my value stream, there are basically three elements: the problem solving task, the physical transformation task, and the information management task. These are the three tasks which I have to always bear in mind when it comes to understanding my value stream or creating my value stream. The problem solving task basically is running the concept through detailed design and engineering to production launch. So which means this is basically the drawing board concept as we understand. If there is a problem, then how can I map that problem? How can I run that concept from my design stage to my production launch? Physical transformation task, as the name suggests, is conversion of raw material to a finished product in the most efficient manner through minimum utilization of my machinery and other resources. And finally, the information management task, which is running from order taking through detailed scheduling to delivery. Yeah. So which is basically mapping the entire information flow, which becomes a customer interfacing task. Yeah. So these are the three tasks that always go towards making a good value stream under lean management. So we have talked about understanding value stream. Now there are three types of actions. So as we discussed before, steps that definitely create value. So example I've given is assembling parts in a car manufacturing process. Those steps are definitely required in a value stream. Second one is type 1 waste that we just discussed, which are basically steps that do not create any value but are necessary. An example that I've given over here is inspecting a car axle to ensure quality of the car. The third one is steps that create no value and can be done away with immediately, which is waiting for parts at the car production assembly line. You can make your system so robust that there is no waiting time for parts to arrive, and you can seamlessly obtain parts on a just-in-time basis. Yeah. I will have to now skip through some of the slides quickly because I just realized that maybe I'm overshooting the time that was allotted to me.
Manoj, you can just take another 2 minutes and wrap
Yes,
it up.
please. Yes, I'll try and wrap this up in 2 minutes. Yeah. So
Thank
we
you.
have talked enough about lean, about the value stream. So I think that the key essence that we are taking over, that probably this slide conveys to us is that when we talk about value stream, we have to look at the entire system, the entire ecosystem, and that goes beyond just our organization or our firm. Flow is basically how do you make sure that the value stream flows smoothly. So which means how do various pieces in my value stream connect so well to each other that there's no leakage in between. So that is the way a flow is accomplished. And then of course techniques of flow. So I think this is something that I can give a miss because this is basically yeah. But I think I would just like to just spare a thought for this particular slide, which is that when there are certain barriers to achieving flow. One is our mindset, fighting the mindset, and the second one is that it requires a great amount of cooperation between different stakeholders, which an organization and entities that are outside our ecosystem. Yeah. So basically, cooperation with them is very, very important. I'm going to be skipping this slide as well as the next one because I think in some way or the other we have achieved this. We have sort of gone through this in the session. Yeah. But there is one last slide of mine that I would like to just take a look at. This is very, very important. This basically sums up a difference between a lean organization and a traditional organization, a non-lean organization. The lean organization will always place customer as the object of focus, whereas a traditional organization will always place the organization as the object of focus. What am I good at doing? So let me continue doing that only, regardless of whether the customer wants it or not. And therefore, a lean organization understands what value a customer is looking for, but the traditional organization takes the customer need for granted. In lean organization, I will obtain assets and tools that are required to maximize customer value, which are fitting well into my value stream. But in traditional organization, my focus will be always on my existing assets, even though they might be useless. Yeah. But then yes, I will still continue using them. In the lean organization, I will focus on the entire value stream, but in a traditional organization, I will be very compartmentalized in my thinking. I will have different functions doing different jobs, and they'll be paper pushers, but I will not look at the entire value stream properly. Organization structure focuses on product streams, whereas in the traditional organization, we are very, very compartmentalized in the way we look at running our business. So in the lean organization, also process reviews and improvements occur across the entire value stream as we have seen. But in the traditional organization, my process review and improvements occur at isolated points whenever I feel I do a patchwork solution to solve the problem instead of doing an entire solution. And lean principles ensure continuous improvement on products. It's a Kaizen. Kaizen means continuous improvement. But in a traditional organization, process improvement is not an ongoing process, and it may not necessarily lead to waste minimization and value maximization. These are generalized statements. These may not necessarily apply to all organizations, but yes, these are generally the rules that are followed in the lean versus traditional organization. With this, I come to an end of my presentation, and I'm sorry if I have overshot the time allotted to me, but I am now ready to take up any questions.
Yeah. So Manoj, thank you very much. There are a few questions, so I'll just straight away go to them. The first question is by Dr. Belmate, and it's at a lighter note. Why do lean and mean and green go together?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Why do lean and mean go together?
Why do lean and mean go together?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think in a generic sense, lean and mean are the terms that are used interchangeably. Yeah. Because basically, you stay lean and mean. You stay lean and mean in your organization. So both actually deal with elimination of waste and creation of value. So you basically do away with all that which is not really contributing to your well-being, to the substance. You only look at focus. So in that sense, lean and mean are the terms which can be used interchangeably, and they together complement each other.
Okay. Okay. So Dr. Bennett has another question. He says he's asking that does work study, critical examination, questioning of the 7 W's, what, why, where, when, and how, help in lean management in any situation?
These are absolutely essential ingredients of value stream analysis. Unless you carry out these 7 Ws, you will never be able to set up a value stream which is conforming to the lean tenets. So yes, I think it's
Right.
a very good question, and these
Okay.
are absolutely essential for us to follow when we are practicing lean. So we have to
Okay.
basically keep questioning ourselves about the relevance of each and every step in my value stream analysis.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So another question by Mr. Kishore Kanti Majumdar. He's asking, can you please elaborate a success story of an Indian company who's using lean management?
Okay, so I've heard of of certain organizations. So I don't think I can name them just now. Yeah, but because I mean it's not out there in the public domain. But yes, I have heard of organizations, and I can tell you the way they are achieving this lean. Yeah,
Okay.
they
So
are
and he's asking, how a social service organization can implement lean principle. This
okay.
is a connecting
Okay.
question. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let me answer the first question, and I'll come to this one also.
Yeah.
Now, there is an organization which basically is practicing lean, and they have not yet achieved the full results. It will happen very soon. Is that in their distribution network, what they have managed to do is they had their distributors or their manufacturers of product that they're dealing in, which were in different countries in the Indian subcontinent, where manufacturing was going on, because they felt labor was cheaper out there. They were actually getting their raw materials or their product, even the finished goods manufactured over there, importing them to India and then selling them. But then they realized that the amount that they were facing in terms of movement of the goods from the point of manufacture to the point of sale, in terms of not only in terms of the logistics cost but also in terms of time delay, was somewhere eliminating the value or eroding the value of the product. Now what they have done is they have actually moved the manufacturing closer to the point of sale, and even though the labor here might be more expensive, but overall they've ended up saving cost,
Okay.
because they have not only reduced the transportation cost, they have reduced the inventory carrying cost, and they are now moving towards just in time production. I will not name
Okay.
the organization because it's not yet
No,
in
no
public domain, but we
problem.
will soon get to know about it. And the second
Okay.
part of the question about the social service organization. So please understand the principles of lean. In any organization, right at the top is the customer. What is the value that we are providing to the customer? Identify who your customer is in a social service organization. If it's a social service organization, you are doing a social work, but who are you serving? Who is your end customer? What is that customer expecting from you in terms of the social service that you're delivering? You in your wisdom might be delivering some kind of social service to that customer which you feel the customer requires, but does the customer actually find that social service that you're delivering to be providing value to that customer, or to be solving any problem that he's facing for which he's seeking social service? So I think that's a very important thing which you must understand right in the beginning.
Okay.
Once you have understood this, then please understand that in my social service setup, how can I actually do this by involving least amount of people, but involving those people who are knowledgeable in the subject. So let me not
Right.
create a huge crowd of people who are just there, but they might not be contributing towards serving the cause of the work that I'm doing. But yes, people who are definitely useful to me, who are knowledgeable, and who are critical to my success. How can I make sure that the work that they're doing keeps happening seamlessly without much of an intervention taking place from extraneous forces? I think these are some of the ways by which social service organizations, like any other business organization, can achieve the lean goals.
Right, right. So there are three more questions. One is by Dr. Harshvardhan. He's asking, at present, when there are breaks in supply chain, how do we tweak lean management?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because these are uncertain times. And yes, there's a break in the supply chain. Now, the thing is that you cannot attain that level of efficiency which you can attain in the normal times. But yes, some of the ways by which you can do is you can look for alternate sources of procuring your material, alternate distributors. Because what normally happens is that in these changing times, people also are changing their business. So some of the other people who probably were not your distributors before, today could probably become your distributors. So look at those alternate sources through which you can obtain your supplies, your distribution. Second thing is that You are in that boat, but you also have your competitors who also could be in the similar situation as you. See,
Yeah.
where are they obtaining their stuff from? Yeah, it will not be as seamless as it is in the normal times, but these are some of the ways by which you can identify alternate means. Or the third one is, how can you change your production cycle or your the methodology of creating your product, so that some of those items which were so critical to your production process earlier, can you look for some substitutes for those? Yeah, without compromising
Okay.
much on the quality. Yeah, so it does
Right.
depend upon one business to another, but yes, these are some of the ways by which we can look at tiding over this crisis situation.
Okay. Okay. So there are many questions coming in. They're very long questions, and we just have 5 minutes. So I'll just take up Mr. N.K. Gupta, who was the first one to ask the question. His question is that municipalities in Delhi operates with high cost. Delhi or anywhere in the country. If lean management concept is applied to these municipalities, what effect do you see on the efficiency of municipalities?
Okay, so whether it's municipality or any other organization, I think what is more important is we must find out whether we have unnecessary flab that we are carrying everywhere.
Yeah.
Coordination is very, very important. So as I said, that your entire ecosystem of your organization has to be such that you are able to seamlessly talk to each other. So I
Yeah.
don't know about municipalities, but yes, I'm sure even municipalities are basically interacting with so many other bodies. Whether
Yeah.
those bodies are government bodies, private bodies, or whatever it is. I think one way by which we can look at it is, can we actually look at reducing the multiplicity of layers that we have in the system? Can we make sure, or can we just relook at whether we need so many bodies to be doing this kind of a job? Can certain bodies be merged? So in order to avoid overlaps, the kind of overlaps that we are facing today. And this also will probably, resolve issues which the customers today are facing, jurisdictional issues as we call them. This is somebody's job, this is somebody else's job. Can we make it as one person's job, or can we make it as, can we integrate the multiple the multiple levels at which we are operating into one single unified platform? So this way we'll be able to serve our customers definitely much better.
Okay, so now Mr. Mukesh Kumar is asking, what is the difference between Six Sigma and lean management? And this is my question also. I also want to know that we talk about Six Sigma. So what is the difference between the two? Both come from Japan, right?
Right. Six Sigma basically teaches you how to practice lean. It makes you proficient at lean. Yeah. So lean is a concept. Six Sigma basically, which started with manufacturing, tells you how you can practice lean efficiently. So Six Sigma basically is a training that is given to enable you to achieve the objectives of lean, to enable you to practice lean properly. So lean is a concept, and Six Sigma basically is a training to enable you to practice this concept efficiently.
Okay. All right. So there are 2, 3 more questions, but I think we are just running out of time. So I think I'll have to stop now. And, there are 2 questions by Mr. Yashwant Chauhan. So I just read it. If you can quickly answer, very briefly. Sure. How can we apply the concept of lean management to maximize our value to organization as people professionals? What key interventions would you recommend across the HR value stream? And the second one is by the same person. How can we apply the concept of, no, I think it's the same question. Okay, so this is the question. How do we apply these principles across the HR value stream?
So that's, I think, very, very interesting. HR, my first and foremost observation over there will be that HR is basically a facilitator towards achievement of organizational goals. Yeah. Now we talk about organizational goals which we have realized as our goals for the present. But our HR systems, which are basically enablers towards achievement of those goals, are warped up. They are time warped. They basically pertain to an era which is bygone. They may not necessarily be living up to my needs for the present. So which means I think the performance management system is something that HR definitely needs to review in entirety. And performance management system by itself is a huge subject. It is just not performance appraisal. That is just one aspect of it. Right from the stage to understanding what are the various roles of each individual in the organization, what kind of system should we have in the organization, how many people should we have, what should be their job description. whether we need a separate finance department, a separate purchase department, whether we need a separate whatever department, yeah, can we not integrate multiple departments and make all the people do a similar job? Yeah, so that, I mean, we break the compartmentalization. I mean, today, why can't finance people not do the job of, let's say, a salesperson? I mean, they'll be able to understand it better. So allow some intermingling of functions to take place, rewrite the job descriptions of people, redraw your organization structure. You align the KRAs of individuals to the organizational goals, give them necessary training to enable them to achieve the kind of expectations that you have from them. And in the process, create an organization which is robust, which is not caught in a time warp, but which is actually geared up to take the challenges of the future, which is what you've identified as your organizational goal. So basically focus on performance management system. Don't take anything for granted. You might have been practicing that organization structure for years, but relook at it. Relook at it with a totally fresh mind. Try and do away with multiple departments. You don't need them. You just have maximum 2 or 3 departments. That's it. Otherwise, make a unified platform, make everybody do everybody's job, and you therefore cut out the flab.
Okay, all right. Okay, so thank you very much, Manoj. I would now request Dr. Rao to just share with us, the future, programs and events which are happening in the near future of ISTD, and then we will end the program.
Evening, it was a wonderful session and a lot of interaction happening. So I should not be seen as an intruder, but then they are a very important announcement. Delhi chapter of ISTD would be doing a national conclave on a digital mode on the 5th and 6th of September. So it's a virtual session. It's called a national conclave. The topic will be resilient talent management. So the talent management, which is resilient. This is the topic. It will be 2 half days in the second half, 2:30 to 6:30. Then we'll have 4 technical sessions there around the talent management. So please block your dates, September 5th and 6th, afternoon 2:30 to 6:30, 2 half days. And to elaborate more on that conference, we have a curtain raiser on the 8th of August. 8th of August is a Saturday, and it will be in the evening 4 to 6. So in there, our conference conclave chairman, Mr. Ranjan Mahapatra, will talk about the conference and will give you more details about that virtual conference, and will also have a presentation on use of virtual reality tools in talent engagement. So that it's just not the curtain raiser. We'll be having one knowledge sharing session like today we have lean management. That day we'll have virtual reality tools in talent engagement. So there will be presentation, there will be question answer session. This will be on the 8th. So please block your date and time, 8th August from 4 to 6, the curtain raiser followed by a knowledge sharing session, knowledge and skill sharing session, and the September 5th and 6th for the actual conference. We call it National Conclave, 5th and 6th afternoon 2:30 to 6:30. So please look forward to see you all on the 8th. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Dr. Rao. And thank you so much, Manoj, for such a valuable session. Very, very knowledgeable. And we really thought that lean management was all about cost cutting and rationalization, manpower rationalization, business restructuring. So it was very, very useful, information which you shared with us. Now I would request Mr. Deepak Barara to, give a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Pratima Madam. It's a really wonderful session, I must say that. Let me start with my thanks notes. Thanks to Mukesh Bhai, GP Rao, YN Kaushal Sir, and Dr. Banwit for their able leadership to the ISTD and also leading this wonderful series of master classes. Thanks to Manoj for his wonderful presentation and sharing his valuable inputs on the very apt topic, lean management, specifically in the current crisis time. when there is a question of survival of the fittest. The concept of lean management is quite old and very well accepted by the Indian business organizations due to its substantial benefits. Earlier, there was a myth that it holds good for only manufacturing, but now it has been proven beyond saying that it is good for all business propositions. From Manoj's session, I got 4 takeaways, which I can count on my fingers, that lean management is all about creating and delivering value and to reduce wastages. Second takeaway is passion, interpersonal relationship, and information management are the key for that success as it is impacting the people. Thirdly, don't cut the corners, but create a win-win situation through enhancing the benefits. And fourth one, assess all business processes as to how to create a value to our stakeholders. And I must say that the question answer session was quite effectively responded and handled by Manoj. Kudos to him. And towards the last, I would like to thank Suchitra Madam, Pratima Madam, and Arun for their kind support from the front end as well as the back end. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Have a great day. God bless you all.
Ritma Madam, can I speak for 1 minute?
Please, please, sir.
Yeah.
So, thanks to Deepak Bhai, Pratima ji, Dr. Rao, and especially Manoj sir for your wonderful program. You know, on 15th August, we are having a Sur Sandhya. That will be a melodious evening from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. So please keep that time for daily chapter, 15th August evening.
Great.
Number 2, thanks to our past presidents, Dr. Benwet and Dr. Upadhyay, and many chairmen and very senior people from other chapters. We welcome you, sir, and we thank you for joining us to this evening. With your support, we'll be able to do many more programs this kind. Please keep blessing us in our all programs. Thank you very much, and thanks Alok for a wonderful support always. Thank you very much.
One more thing which I just wanted to talk, Mukesh bhai, if we have got 8th curtain raiser, can we have an MC meeting of ISTD before that? One MC meeting.
Sure.
Before that curtain raiser, so that we are all on a common page.
Sure. We'll organize on Saturday or Sunday.
I'll leave it with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Pratima ji.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and good night.
Thank you, Pratima Madam. Wonderful. Great. Kudos to you.
Thank you, Janta. Thank you, Pratima Madam. Thank you, Rao.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Thank you very much.
Thank you for a great session.
Thank you, Manoj. Very wonderful.
And I also would like to say that there are some guests who have come who, would like to become members of ISTD. So, you can just send us a note or something. We will send you the details.
Arun, type your email on the chat box. Huh?
Yeah.
dailychapter@istd.com so that they will write you.
Yes,
Arun,
sir. Yes,
please
sir.
write your email ID on the
Yes,
chat
sir.
box.
Yes, sir.
Please.
Yes, sir.
Abhi likh do.
Thank you, one and all. Nice hearing you, Manoj. And today I find the concepts of lean being practiced. I find Rao Garu not as active as he usually is. So I hope the lean management has not gone
No.
into
I was in another session. I kept this and was listening. From this session, I was listening, and that session I was watching.
Multitasking today.
But we have enjoyed the session. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was really useful.
Thank you.
But I didn't miss any of the points of that Manoj made. Only thing is I kept my video off.
Rao Garu, it's on the lighter side. Don't worry.
No.
So, gentlemen, this here, Arun has written, given his email ID in the chat box, delhichapter.istd@gmail.com. So you can get in touch with him, and he will send you the forms and all, and you can become members of
Arun,
ISTD.
mention your number also. Arun, give your number also.
That will be better.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you. Good night.
Wonderful.
Thank
Okay.
Good day.
Thank you so much.
Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Okay,
very much.
sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks
Okay.
a lot.
Thank you, Manojji.
Thank you,
very
Manoj,
much.
once again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.